time now for the nationally syndicated radio show, The World of Laurie Zoock. And now, here she is, the smart, the sexy, the savvy, divine Miss C.
And welcome to the show. I've got a little story to share before I introduce my guest. Probably about 2 or 3 years ago, I was at a lovely Thai restaurant in Temple Terrace, and with my boyfriend and his friends, and they left after dinner. But I decided to stay because there was a very good piano player playing, and there was a couple sitting next to me with their son, and the son got up to play piano. And I think he was only a teenager at the time, but I was blown away. Okay, I'm a musician myself, and I went, oh my gosh, who is this? So I've become friends with the mom. Met the dad again today for the second time, but I have with me James Williams, and I want to welcome you to the show. So let me start with let's start with childhood. Where are you from?
Originally, I was born in Wickford, Essex. I was born in Basildon Hospital. I grew up in Wickford, Essex. It's a little town outside of London. Yeah. Okay.
And now, what was your interest in music as a child?
Oh, I interested in music as a child. Mostly when I went to school, it was a public school. It's the smallest public school you can ever imagine in a little town. It was like walking distance by it, and you never have like piano teachers there outside of the lessons, but it didn't seem like they had electives. It was like I was taken out of class to go on the piano, and that's something that I kind of want to do. I love Scott Joplin and Mozart. And Beethoven. So I grew up with this keyboard my mum got for me when I was like probably 4, and it has like 100 of the most
the rhythms and the voices on it. Right, had all the buttons.
Yeah, had all the buttons. Had like a Star Wars theme on it, and then it had 2 Chopins, Minute Waltz, 2 Midnight Night, everything. That's like well known, and that's how I grew up. And then the keyboard that lights up. I bet some people have this. It's like one of those Casio keyboards, a toy. It's like a 60 key.
Right.
And I did go through like piano lessons when I was like really young, and like usually the formal training didn't really connect with me, because
you play by ear. You have perfect pitch. You can hear it and duplicate it. Correct?
Yes, but it's visual. It's not like I hear it and then I play it. I have to explain it later. I have to tell you about experience of formal training in music. It didn't really go with me. It didn't click for you. It didn't click for me.
Okay, so you did try to study music. Can you read music?
As of now, I can read music just a little bit. I went to USF like a couple months ago just to have formal training. Like one of the professors. Actually went through me for training, and I had piano sheet music, and she was a genius. I explained to her like, what makes me play piano is like if it's repetitive and the rhythms are the same, like I can pretty much do it. I still can't explain it properly. And she got me a prelude from Bach, and like when I was starting to learn music, and this is exactly. How I imagine it, exactly, how the rhythm's the same. And I explained it like poorly, like I'm doing now, and like she managed to find a piece that I've never heard of, and she taught me step by step.
Right. So let me ask you, do you hear the music? I understand, because most music is patterns. There are repetitive patterns in most good music anyway.
Yes.
So when you can recognize that pattern, like Scott Joplin, for example, in those ragtime pieces, there's a lot of repetition over and over. So how do you do it? In other words, can you see where it is? How do your hands know where to go to play that music, to duplicate it, or is it not really explainable?
No. The only way I can explain it is more visual than anything. You have to tell the difference between it's like reading the letters and the numbers telling you the difference in what it is with the keyboard. was like, I'm not sure how many different keys are. I can't remember how many different keys there were, but like you have to tell the difference between the white keys and the black keys. There's like 2, 3, 2, 3.
Right.
And like
So
white keys, they have shapes. The white keys have shapes. And what helped me was Synthesia. I don't know if you've ever heard of that program. It's a MIDI program.
I don't know it, but you can talk about it.
Yeah. I discovered it on YouTube. It takes like sheet music and makes it more visual. Like before the piece plays, like it drops down like where the keys are going to be.
It like scrolls.
Yeah,
and
it scrolls. I can see where it's going to go.
I've seen that on some of on video games. In other words, where you have to hit those keys.
Yeah, it's like Guitar Hero.
That.
Like Guitar Hero, except it's more professional. It's more,
I gotcha.
And like the white keys are like a light color, and the black keys are like a dark color. You can kind of see them in the different shapes coming down.
So that's interesting to me. You can visually see what it is that you're going to play versus somebody like me who learned to read. And then for me, it's almost I learned to read and then I memorized what the notes sound like. You have it the other way around. You were able to visually see what they were to figure out the spacing between them. So we're backwards of each other, which is kind of interesting, I think. Yeah. So when you play music, you're learning like a phrase, a portion of it at one time? Because I know your mom said you pick the most difficult pieces to play, and most piano players go, no, I want to start easy and work my way up to hard. But you do it backwards, right? You go, let me find the hardest piece.
Yeah. I find a piece that I enjoy. They sound like the most difficult things you can ever imagine. So, for instance, Fantasy, Impromptu by Chopin. I've seen some children actually play that, and it was like that kind of drives me. It was like I'm pretty sure I could do something like that, and like see if I have small hands, I can play it. I mean, let's see. When I was 10 years old, I saw a 10-year-old playing that Fantasy Improv. That's really what got me started. Back in 2007, we'll listen to his classical music because I didn't have the influence of modern music. It was more of a.
Okay. Now, did you listen? Did you listen to a lot of classical music growing up? I mean, did your mom and dad play music so that you could hear it, or you just heard people play and said, hey, I want to do that?
No, it's just my little toy keyboard that I had with 100 songs. And plus, I did try to go and like more piano lessons when I was even 10. It was always a start and a stop for me. So this is a piano teacher, and I know his name is John. It was like a music store, in like State Road 54.
Okay.
Downtown, and he played Fantasy Impromptu. I fell in love with that piece, Fantasy Impromptu. Like he actually played that a little bit, and that's what really got me into that music. And he played like The Entertainer by Scott Joplin, all like my favourite.
Right, and for people who are listening, the pieces that you're talking about are extremely difficult pieces. I mean, pretty much concert pianist type pieces. They're not what regular piano players play. You have to be super skilled. And normally when you're learning music, most piano players, they read the notes, they understand the music theory and the timing and what everything means. But what James does is he's both visual and auditory. He's putting it together in a different way of thinking than most people are. So when you learn a song, what do? Do you play the music over and over for that first phrase and then go to your keyboard and try to duplicate it that way?
Yes, it's very repetitive. I actually put like a laptop on top of the piano keyboard. Right now I just put it on like a tall chair. And there's three things I do. I fill up a piece. I have to have the synthesizer program, and then I have tutorials by actual people playing it. Actually, Paul Burton, I couldn't imagine playing this one etude by Chopin. It was like the Ocean etude, and he gave like the best advice. He's like, just play it, memorize the song chords first, then you can work your way up. And I've actually almost learned that piece completely.
Oh my!
And that was like the most ingenious way of learning how to play. It was simple. The chords is like three fingers in each hand, and playing it. Just
wow.
Memorize the whole song, because all it is goes up and down. It's called an ocean study.
Well, let's do this. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna play some music. You're gonna hear James play. So be back in just a moment.
Central Payment, your number one credit card merchant service provider in the industry. Providing e-commerce solutions, POS systems, standalone terminals, mobile apps, and much more. Call Central Payments James Carner at 813-777-4332. Looking for the lowest rates in the industry and number one customer service? Call Central Payments James Carner at 813-777-4332. That's James Carner, 813-777-4332.
Do you miss that old school sound that made radio great? Let me invite you to preview Philharmonic's Jack of All Trades at PhilharmonicBlues.com, a collection of Americana blues available as a download for $7.99. You can sample each track on the album page and try before you buy. Philharmonic, Jack of All Trades at PhilharmonicBlues.com. That's PhilharmonicBlues.com.
Early in the evening, right on through the morning dew.
Are you looking for an affordable way to advertise to thousands of consumers nationally? If you own a business and didn't think you could afford radio advertising, you need to call me, Laurie Zoock, host of the nationally syndicated radio show, The World of Laurie Zoock. My show reaches thousands of people on 29 AM and FM stations nationwide, as well as through the internet. Additionally, your commercials will also be heard on all of my podcasts and throughout social media sites. Don't wait another minute. Call me at 813-777-4908, 813-777-4908, and let me bring your message to the nation and to help you gain more exposure. Welcome back to the World of Laurie Zoock. I am sitting here with James Williams. James is a prodigy on the piano. James, tell us a little bit about that song.
That song? That one's Fantasia Impromptu. That's not in English. I can't pronounce it, what it means. But that piece is written by Chopin, one of his most famous works on the piano. And so much happens in the first a minute and a half of a song. That was the only piece that Chopin actually didn't like. He didn't like that piece.
He didn't like that piece?
No, he didn't like that piece.
Interesting. Do you know why?
No, why? Not sure why. There's many he never said why. He was he just neglected the sheet music from it, and as it wasn't one of his favourites. I mean, a lot happens in the first 90 seconds. It depends how it's played. You can play it differently, really fast, really slow. Yeah, but and there's many comments on it. There's a YouTube video. It's really old, and it has pictures of him or paintings, cameras, and
okay.
And there's many comments on about YouTube videos that I wondered why he would hate that piece. It's so majestic and everything. That's really
It's beautiful. You play it so well. Now, when you play, different composers have different styles of music, but also performers have different styles of music. How do you decide how to perform the piece once you've put it together? I mean, do you imitate others, or do you feel it yourself when you're playing the piece?
There's a bit of both. I tried imitating a lot of performers that I've seen on videos and everything. Actually, even after I learned that piece, I looked some tutorials and so maybe tips, and there was some amateur music teacher who used to practice repetitive. Because I spent my whole summer just repeating certain sections of that piece.
How long did it take you to learn that piece?
Well, that piece took me 5 months, but that was.
Do you learn one piece at a time, or can you work on several pieces at one time?
Right now, I'm working on several pieces. I'm working on one of Chopin's etudes, the Torrent.
Okay, so you're able to multitask. You can think several pieces and work on them all at the same time. You don't just do one at a time. Let me ask you another question. How did you learn the technique for playing the piano, like how to cross fingers properly? Because most self-taught people don't know that. But you have to be doing it right because you're playing at such a high speed. If you weren't doing it right, it wouldn't even be possible. Is that something that you watched also? Did you watch tutorials on how to actually use your hands and how to cross and how to strike the keys?
Yeah, there's Paul Burton. I had a 10th grade English project where I had to write a biography about Chopin. I could have chose anything. Then I was kind of inspired by a BBC documentary, and one of the piano professors said, explaining the art of Chopin, and Yuiji Wang, that one. Well, she's a pro. I look up to her. But it's just the way you stroke the new piano, and it's just big thing right now. I had in junior year of high school, had a very beginners class in keyboarding. I've got an A.
You should. That's amazing. That's amazing to learn to do it. Let's hear another song that you've played. Now, that was Für Elise by Beethoven. And I'll tell you that I put that in sections. You have the A section, the beginning, the B section, then it goes back to the A section, then it goes to the C section, and then it goes to the A section again. Most people only learn the A section, which is the beginning part that you heard. The B and C sections are technically more difficult. How long did it take you to learn that piece?
Yeah. Well, I've learned that piece when I was 14 or 13, so I don't remember how long it took me. But I knew I had to build up my repertoire of music, so I kind of chose that one because I kind of knew how to play. But without even learning, I would play by ear. I could play the little bit of the A section, a little bit. But I actually found there's so many tutorials on that one that it was quite easy for me to actually find something that worked for me.
Yeah,
that must have taken couple of weeks.
That's
before I
pretty,
can learn that.
and that's pretty impressive. Now, do you all these songs that you've taught yourself over the years? Do you remember all of them years later? Is it almost like instant memory recall, where you can go out and you have this list of songs, this repertoire, and you can just play? You keep them in your brain forever.
Yeah, or as long as I practice them every day. If I spend an hour on the piano, like playing everything, I know it's good to build up memory like that. So.
That's amazing. Now, does being able to memorize music, does that help you in other parts of life? You know, are you able to memorize other things also, or is it more related to the music?
It's more or less related to music. I mean,
Okay.
Usually I used to listen to music while I'm like doing like homework assignments. That's what got me through it. Like, especially when I was studying for exams in school. Like it would be hard for me just to just sit there and just write out like 100 different answers. So.
Right. Well, there have been actual studies done on music and the brain, and books written on that. That students who listen to classical music, especially Mozart, tend to score better on tests because the music is mathematical for from all composers, but especially with Mozart, it's mathematical, and for some reason it triggers the brain to light up, and then people remember things better. But also for musicians who are able to do that, I think a lot of musicians are even smarter as a result when you have that natural ability. So going forward, what is it that you want to do? Are you going to go on to school for music? Because I know you perform locally.
Oh yeah. I've been accepted to Southeastern University as of August, and I spent a lot of time working at Busch Gardens, like in October. And
do you perform there?
But no, I haven't performed there. As soon as I left Busch Gardens, I was supposed to go into college, but things come up, and I had to apply for the music side a little bit later. So I was thinking about doing that, but I kind of don't want to go back to Busch Gardens, but then I do kind of miss it. I made friends there. It was nice.
Now, do you ever think about writing your own music, or have you written your own music?
Yeah. Thinking about writing music. That's something that usually I don't really believe I can really do properly. I mean, I kind of tried it, but I don't think it was good. I don't think it's good enough. It's a bit difficult because I'm going to pick up something from that I remember, and probably it's going to be copied. But really, after reading what inspired Chopin, was inspired by Beethoven. Some of the pieces by Chopin, you kind of did a little bit, and you copied like a little section from the actual Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata.
Right.
So I kind of see a resemblance, and he did his own thing. I don't know.
Right. Well, all the songs are based on chord progressions, and I think you're fantastic. If people want to get a hold of you, what's your website that they can get a hold of you through and listen to you?
My website is amomentwiththeclassics.com. Yeah.
Okay, very good. amomentwiththeclassics.com. I want to thank you very much, James Williams, for joining me. We're going to go out of this segment with some more of your music.
Central Payment, your #1 credit card merchant service provider in the industry. Providing e-commerce solutions, POS systems, standalone terminals, mobile apps, and much more. Call Central Payments James Carner at 813-777-4332. Looking for the lowest rates in the industry and #1 customer service? Call Central Payments James Carner at 813-777-4332. That's James Carner, 813-777-4332. 332.
Do you miss that old school sound that made radio great? Let me invite you to preview Philharmonic's Jack of All Trades at PhilharmonicBlues.com, a collection of Americana blues available as a download for $7.99. You can sample each track on the album page and try before you buy. Philharmonic, Jack of All Trades at PhilharmonicBlues.com. That's PhilharmonicBlues.com.
Early in the evening, right on through the morning dew.
And welcome back to my world, the world of Laurie Zoock. I've got with me now Lisa Williams. Now, like me, she's an animal advocate, and I'll share a little story. I'm involved with the Great Dane Rescue, and my group is based on the east coast of Florida. The east coast of the United States, but I live in Florida. So I scan Craigslist every day. I don't like Craigslist, and I look for people that are giving away their Great Danes for free, because unfortunately a lot of people who get those dogs do bad things with them. So when I scanned through, I saw a Great Dane, and I immediately went to the Great Dane Club of America's website where they list all the rescues, and that's how I found Lisa, who happens to live over by WDCF where I record my show, and she's with me today. So I want to welcome you, Lisa.
Thank you, Laurie. It's good to be here.
Thanks. Well, we're both animal advocates. So one of the things, there's tons of animals. I mean, there's tons of pets, and people don't always do the right thing. And some of that goes back to breeding. And I know that you're a reputable breeder, but there are breeders who are not reputable. How does someone, if they want to buy a dog, how do you know? I mean, I would think don't go to Craigslist, because to me that sends up red flags. So
Right.
Tell me a little bit about that.
What I always recommend people to do is research on the internet, ask people the types of breeds that they think they're interested in, and then research about that breed. Look for the parent club of that breed, which is where you found me. And anybody who's reputable is involved with either parent clubs or all breed clubs, and actually do reputable work with those clubs to improve the breed. So if somebody is looking, don't go to the newspaper, don't go to Craigslist, don't go to Gigi, Kijiji, whatever it is. Any of those, in those ads sometimes can rope somebody into something they don't want to be into also.
Right. Now, there was a breeder down in Southwest Florida not too long ago that was disreputable. And if I remember right, there were probably hundreds. I think there were 100 Danes. What happened with that?
There was. The initial numbers that they came up with was like 56 to 66. Then once they pulled them in, they had realized that several of the females were pregnant and ready and due to deliver, which they did, and that increased the numbers. And what we had found out was that breeder knew she was in trouble a few months before and started to get rid of everything that she could. She did contact a few type of rescues around the southeast portion of Florida, and she dispersed several of her animals. That's why the numbers ended up being up to around 100.
Wow, that's a lot, and that's someone, and that's where you have to be careful. And I always try to caution people against Craigslist, because in all honesty, that's the scammer site. And, not to say I've used it to buy things or to sell things, but, nowadays you want to do that at the police department parking lot, because in most counties here, they actually allow you to do that as a result. But when I see those dogs, a lot of times people, they're putting up their Great Dane for the rehoming fee where they're actually selling it. I think you're better off in that case going to a reputable rescue, which is usually listed. It's associated with the breed organization of that,
right? To
find out, because they're kind of vetting it. If that breed organization gets complaints, then they're not going to have that group or that breeder either way on that site. So
The beautiful thing about going to a rescue, a reputable rescue, is that these people, like you say, have vetted. They've not only vetted, they've temperament tested these animals in all sorts of situations before you brought them into their home. And they are vetted by an actual veterinarian or more. They've had their spay or their neuter surgery, which is a huge expense that most of these people that are searching these links are trying to avoid expense. So if you go through the rescue, yeah, you might pay a couple $100, but that's a lot cheaper than if you were paying for the complete vet bill to take care of these animals.
Right. I don't think people realize that either. And also, obviously, we're both associated with Great Dane rescues. The larger the dog, the bigger the expense.
More expensive.
So, if you have a little tiny dog that weighs 4 pounds like a Yorkie, and you have a Great Dane that weighs 150 to 200 pounds, you're going to pay way more for shots, for any kind of veterinary care, for heartworm pills, everything. Having them. The
Right.
food bill can be enormous. And then you have special needs dogs, like mine is special needs. He can't eat dry food, so he's on that raw diet, which is very expensive.
It is.
So
Yeah.
I look at things like that. Well, let's go back to spay and neuter, because
Yes.
I think the statistics are 1 million animals a year in the United States. It's somewhere around there. I've read 10,000 a day. Whatever it is, it's way too much. So I'm going to ask you, what's your opinion of spay and neuter? Because I'm pro.
I'm definitely for spaying and neutering. And a lot of people, even when they come to me as a breeder, I refer them to rescue first. And anybody who's new to the breed, they don't get an unspayed or unneutered animal. I always recommend that. I think that with our population that we have of animals, and the rescues are filled to the brim. I personally work with Great Dane Love, the Central Florida Rescue for Great Danes, and they have been overwhelmed. And that was before the Remington seizure down in DeSoto County. And they have just getting more and more. And what they get from Great Dane Club of America, as far as sponsorship and money helping them, is very minute to the actual numbers that are increasing every day. I speak with Michelle all the time, and she's telling me, oh my gosh, we're so overwrought. We've got more and more and more, but we've got to keep it up. We've got to go. And their vetting process is that spay and neuter. And like you said before, these people with the little dogs, they think, oh, I can get it spayed or neutered for $50. A Great Dane can be up to $350 or $500. Sometimes when they go in for that, they find other issues. And the anesthesia is the priciness.
Right, and anesthesia can be risky to Great Danes, especially.
Right.
And certain breeds like Great Danes are prone to situations like bloating, and I'm well aware of that because I've lived through it. And 2 years ago, my older dog bloated while I was away, and it was $4,400. And fortunately, my vet actually caught it in time, and she survived and lived for another couple of years. But people don't think about those things when they're going out to.
No.
First off, I don't know if people just don't know how they can go about getting a dog. So, the kid says, hey, I want a dog. To me, it's a lifetime commitment. It's not something that, hey, my kid wants one. Well, guess what? If your kid wants one, you, mom and dad, are responsible. You're really still the parent of that dog, and
Absolutely.
you can teach your child proper ways to be around that dog. When you have Great Danes like we do, I see people post on these Facebook lists the child sitting on top of the Great Dane, or the child backing the Great Dane into a corner, and you see the look on the animal's face, and then you wonder why the animal bit that child. Well,
Right.
parents, you weren't doing your job.
It's all education, education, education. And that is the same thing with rescue and getting a hold of people when they're looking for an animal. Educate yourself. You have to know all about this breed. This is why so many dogs, and especially Great Danes, end up back into rescues because boom, they grow up enormous, and they cost at least sometimes $75 or more a week to feed. Can you do that? You have to really plan ahead. And it's not just that. Like we talked about, the vet bills are going to be more. They have a lot of chronic issues. And anybody researching any breed, go and research the chronic issues that are common to that breed, because you can bet your bottom dollar if it's coming into rescue from Lord knows where, that boom, they're going to have one of those issues at some time during their lifespan, and you're going to have to financially deal with it.
Right. And unfortunately, I see a lot of people do those GoFundMe accounts because they didn't save. And in a way, I feel sad, because if you have that, to me, it's just like having a child. You have to have money saved up in the bank for when you have that emergency bloat surgery or when something goes terribly wrong. It's not cheap to own a pet. And so with Great Danes,
Absolutely.
specifically, like you said, being such a large breed, the number one answer I see that people turn them in is it grew too big. Well, didn't you know what you were getting? When you got that little puppy, don't you know? Realize it's going to be big?
That's usually what is the appeal of the Great Dane. People think, wow, look at that. That is awesome, that big dog. But that's when they see it out, somebody else hanging on to it, running through a park. That's awesome. That's beautiful. When they get it into their homes, all of a sudden their home seems so much smaller. And the furniture, we don't have enough furniture. Where's this dog going to sit? And people, that don't want them to get on the furniture, well, they're just big enough. They back their little butts right on it and plop right down.
They sit down and their paws are on the ground. I know.
Yeah.
And the funniest part, I look on Facebook, I'm on all the Great Dane lists, and everybody who loves Great Danes, we all have the same living room because the sofas are all covered with blankets. That's the only way to live. So when people come over, I'm always apologizing. My house is made for the dog.
Dogs.
It's not for me. If you have a white sofa and you have white carpets, I don't think any dog is for you. Any dog is for you at all.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I noticed that too. All of our Dane friends usually have very dog-friendly homes and go for the furniture. We bought a giant custom sofa so that everybody would have a spot. Every Dane could have a spot. And we have a new puppy, and I told Tim that, oh my gosh, I think we're going to have to get that extra piece that fits into the section now so that Pumpkin can fit there.
That's it. I know, because you have a large dog and it shares your bed. It's
your family.
It's right. It's exactly
It's
right.
a family.
So spay and neutering is very important because we wouldn't have this overpopulation if people were responsible, which kind of brings me to, it's a shame that right now there's no national registry for all animals being microchipped so that when someone dumps their animal or abandons it, if it were able to be scanned, because those people don't microchip, then the owner would get fined, and that would cut down a lot. So, there's no national do not adopt to list. Now, I think Tennessee came out with a state. One of the states came out with a state do not adopt list, but someone might challenge that legally at some point because
I recently seen that.
Yeah,
Correct.
they could put your name up and whatever the situation is. So I don't know. I still think that there should be
But
a
it's
national
still better
one.
than nothing because if they put it up and your name is on there mistakenly and you can show, oh, look, this really didn't happen, then that's fine. Then they can pull you off. But we need to have some sort of a registered database for this. And to coordinate with the microchips, they need to have a uniformed microchip. There are a couple of different kinds with different frequencies, and they need to have one that all of the readers read it. And we need to integrate it like at any initial vet visit. Look, and not make it $50 to do. Make it $10.
Right.
But all of them need to have it.
Right, I agree. That would cut down tremendously. And that kind of leads me into my next thought, which is the FBI felony animal cruelty. Originally, animal cruelty up until last year was considered a misdemeanor.
Unfortunately.
There was a small little fine, and you couldn't be more than, a pat on the wrist, like a year in jail. Is that really going to happen? You have all these people, especially here in Florida, that leave their pets. I love this one. They leave their pet in the car in the, it's 90 degrees outside. In a matter of minutes, it can go up to 130 degrees.
Yes.
Some of them crack the windows, some don't. But now it's actually considered felony animal cruelty by the FBI. And I actually had John Thompson, who was from the National Sheriff's Association, was a guest on a previous show a ways back. My thing was, how seriously will the FBI enforce the cruelty laws, the felony cruelty laws? Do you think it might actually do anything?
I think that's where they're having an issue prosecuting a lot of people with this because everybody has a little bit of a different overview and idea what that animal is to you. Each state, is it your property? Is it your family? And for the most part, it's just a lot of them say it's just a thing, it's your property. So they treat it as they would treat a table and chairs or a sofa
Right.
set, unfortunately. They've got to get down to it's a living being, and it has to be treated. It's severe to remove the life of a living being or to abuse any living being.
Right, and I agree with you on that because the whole situation is just becoming sadder, and I find it difficult when I'm on all the anti-animal abuse
Right.
lists also. So when I see those stories, I sometimes I can't even read them.
It's overwhelming.
It is, and that leads me back to Craigslist. Just a quick story. There was a fella, I think he was in the state of Washington, and what he did was he got somewhere close to 30 free pets, assorted varieties, species of pets. And what he did was he actually cooked and ate a number of them. So when people are giving away their free pets, you have to think about what's going to happen to that pet. Is someone going to cook it and eat it? Are they going to use it as a bait dog in a fight?
Exactly.
So, Craigslist has specific rules. You're allowed to rehome. You can't put it under for sales. $50 is really about the limit. You want to charge something because you don't just want someone collecting free pets. And what a lot of those people do, I think, is they flip pets when they get them for free, right?
And that's another thing that I've been hearing about is the pet flippers. Absolutely.
Yeah. The whole thing is sad. Talk to me a little bit about fostering, because you're with Great Dane
Yes.
Rescue of Central Florida, correct?
Right. Great Dane loves Central Florida Rescue.
Okay.
Yes.
And so I know how hard it is, even on the East Coast where I'm from, to get foster. So give me your
Yes.
foster plea. How does it work for someone who wants to foster?
And you know what? Somebody that has dog experience, maybe even not Dane experience, but large dog experience, they're home all the time, they have time, and that would be a great way for people that are looking for an animal. Let's try a foster. Let's try fostering. And what happens is Great Dane Love will come and check you out, check out your credentials, and they actually won't just give you any dog. They will put a dog in your home that matches your home's needs. If you have a cat and they have a Dane that is not cat friendly, they may not put it in there. Because they don't want to terrorize your home. But that's a great way to get to know them. The best thing is people can do, if you're looking for something, look for a good rescue, even the county rescues. So many of them, they're on kill lists, and that's the kill list in the shelter. Despite they say they're not kill shelters, I still believe there's a lot of them being put down each week because they're overwhelmed and there's no room.
Right. Now, I find with my group, there are a lot of foster failures because they've
Yes.
done, the ones who have done their research and are kind of stuck on the breed, they go, well, let's test it out this way.
Exactly.
And then they end up adopting that dog. And then if you're lucky, maybe they'll actually foster another one. But you will have
Yes.
people that, in these groups, I've seen people post pictures with 6 Danes or 8 Danes that they own. They just keep getting Danes.
Like potato chips, right?
Yeah, you can't have just one. I know that's our saying too. So any other comments that you want to add?
Great Dane Love definitely needs more people that can foster because they're taking in so many, and they really need good homes. I've fostered, and some dogs work out great, and some dogs, the foster seems to either fail or we need to get a new home for them, and Great Dane Love will take them back and put them in another foster.
Now this show is actually aired all over the country, so we're here in Land O'Lakes, Florida, recording the show today. Where does Great Dane Love cover? What areas?
Great Dane Love is Central Florida, and however, if you cut the state in half, you'll see that it's kind of a vague area. With me being over on this end and being the Great Dane Club of North Central Florida's rescue contact person, I can field more inquiries over on the west side of the state. They are on the east side of the state, but we have extended it as far as I can go and do home checks and help people out.
Great. Now, Great Dane Love, are they looking for more volunteers? And do you have a lot of volunteers or not enough? Probably, right?
They don't have enough volunteers. They're always looking for more. Great Dane Love of Central Florida is on Facebook. They do have a website. Michelle, their coordinator, is amazing, and I enjoy talking and working with her whenever I can. We do a lot of fundraisers on Facebook, that we have auctions, and we help raise funds for Great Dane Love to try to help their incoming needs, especially the vetting.
Right, and that's another thing. The fundraising part for any rescue group is so crucial, because if you're a 501c3 nonprofit,
They are.
None of the volunteers get paid any money. They're just doing it out of the goodness of their hearts because
Right.
they love that breed or whatever group it is that they're representing.
Yes.
So volunteers, I think, are that's what makes up the whole group and makes it work.
One of my pet peeves is anybody who's producing animals as a breeder should give back to the breed by helping rescue. If you can't take a foster, donate money. If you can't donate money, donate time. If you get an influx of dog items, donate them to the foster. Every little bit helps. I try to help with our club, and we have raffles. The last one we raised $340 some bucks. So that's something that'll get a dog spayed or neutered.
Right.
So every little bit helps.
Now, does your group do meet and greets, where you're at local pet stores or different places where people can come out? Because understand that when you're obviously fostering a dog, it's not in a physical shelter.
Right.
So somebody says, hey, I want to see your dogs. Do you make them available publicly so that someone
They
can see?
do in Titusville. They have a meet and greet every month, mid-month at the PetSmart on a Saturday.
Okay, and the adoption process. Now, I know for the group I'm with, it's almost like adopting a child. It's
Yeah,
pretty
absolutely.
intense. So I'm assuming you probably go through the same thing as far as they want to
Right.
adopt. What do they do?
They complete an application, and then Michelle will contact them, and we set up an in-home review. And somebody like myself would come in and just kind of go over basic Dane questions, animal care questions. Just make sure that your home is dog safe, Dane safe, and that you're set up, that you have a fence, that they can be in a safe area.
Right. I just saw a story yesterday on Facebook where the people left their Great Danes out, and the puppy was missing when they came home, and you can't do that. I know in situations like mine, I actually have a pet sitter. My dog is only 2 years old. He's crated, but never more than just a few short hours at a time. So in reality, my life revolves around my Great Dane schedule. That's how I make
Absolutely.
it work.
It should.
And that's what you have to think about. You can't leave really any dog in a crate for 8 hours. That's
They
just
don't
unfair.
tolerate it. Great Danes do not tolerate it, and they don't make crates heavy enough for a Great Dane not to damage or escape. Another thing is a Great Dane is not an outside animal in warm weather, in cold weather, in any weather. They don't thrive. They do poorly. They get very easily skin conditions and GI upset, where they have a lot of stomach problems, and they're a sensitive breed. They're not this big, tough breed. They're a very soft-hearted, soft, temperamented, and sensitive breed.
Right.
that
Like
needs-
Scooby, they're
like a
Scooby-Doo.
baby. Yeah,
Yeah, they're
absolutely.
Scooby-Doo. That's it. And that's how we treat ours. And you have to think about that. A pet should be a member of the family. Would you leave your child locked in a
locked
car or locked in a house, or locked in a crate in a house? If you wouldn't do it to an infant, don't do it to your
Right.
pet. And I think that's important. Well, I want to thank you very much for joining me. You're from you do Great Dane Love of Central Florida.
Correct.
Lisa, how can people contact you if they have any questions?
Okay, I am on Facebook, Lisa Williams, Tim McLeod, and also I have North Star Great Danes on Facebook, and my email address is northstardanes@yahoo.com. Simple, easy, and I reply pretty quickly.
Excellent. Great. Thank you very much for joining me. And I'm sure I'm going to have you back. I'm sure I'm going to have you back. And thanks for joining me, Laurie Zoock, on The World of Laurie Zoock. Tune in next week. Be safe.
Do you miss that old school sound that made radio great? Let me invite you to preview Philharmonic's Jack of All Trades at PhilharmonicBlues.com, a collection of Americana blues available as a download for $7.99. You can sample each track on the album page and try before you buy. Philharmonic, Jack of All Trades at PhilharmonicBlues.com. That's PhilharmonicBlues.com.
Early in the evening, right on through the morning dew.
Are you looking for an affordable way to advertise to thousands of consumers nationally? If you own a business and didn't think you could afford radio advertising, you need to call me, Laurie Zoock, host of the nationally syndicated radio show, The World of Laurie Zoock. My show reaches thousands of people on 29 AM and FM stations nationwide, as well as through the internet. Additionally, your commercials will also be heard on all of my podcasts and throughout social media sites. Don't wait another minute. Call me at 813-777-4908, 813-777-4908, and let me bring your message to the nation and to help you gain more exposure.